Good morning. Welcome to All Falcons. We said we were going to have a 10 a.m. start, but we're ready to go. We're ready to start a little early. So with Nick being out and having a full day ahead of him at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the West Coast, and it's like, let's get this started. We can go a little early, go a little long. Got a couple people. I know Jay has been in the chat ready to go on YouTube. Appreciate you, Jay. So as you come in, make sure you hit those like and share buttons and all those type of things. My name is Scott Kennedy. This is my co-host, Nick Kendell. We're going to talk some All Falcons here. We're going to talk some New England Patriots. We're going to talk some Dallas Cowboys. And the other thing I want to get into a little bit, Nick, is, there's a lot of anger coming off of that Falcons-Cowboys game. And I get it. I do. That was It was humiliating. It was a humiliating loss. The Cowboys are always on national TV, and they were the national broadcast again. Falcons raised our hopes up just enough. Hey, they're in a playoff spot. Nice road win against the Saints. And then to go and just get killed it's killed. That's not acceptable. I mean, it's not 43-3. I had this one penciled in as a loss a long time ago, but you don't want to see that. You don't want to see that. So what I want to kind of get to towards the end is, what are the realistic expectations for this team? Because, my best friend's a lifelong Falcons fan, and he's texting me complaining about Arthur Smith. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't think you really have any idea how bad this roster is. And we'll get to that as we finish. But first off, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty well. I am right here with you with the up and down season for the week-to-week league that we're in right now. So riding real high a couple weeks ago and riding real low after this last week. But, the Cowboys are a good team, and I think the Broncos maybe caught them napping a little bit, or just, sometimes you have a good matchup. It's like everyone drink Iowa versus Purdue. On paper, Purdue and Iowa's a better squad, but Purdue schematically whips Iowa every single year. And another team that's the opposite of that is Minnesota. Minnesota hasn't beat Iowa in 7 straight years, but they're typically a pretty solid team. So sometimes you just run into a scheme that doesn't make sense for you, or it's just a bad matchup. And I'm curious if that's something that kind of happened with the Dallas versus Denver, and then Dallas versus the Falcons.
Well, unfortunately, Sean Payton ruined that for us with the New Orleans Saints. It's like, no matter how bad we were, we could always count on beating the Saints.
Yeah.
And that kind of went away with Sean Payton, and they've had the Falcons number for the last, since Sean Payton's been there. They've won, 70% of those games. EJ coming in saying, good morning, Scott and Nick. Let's talk some football. Appreciate you being here, EJ. And I know we've got some regulars that will be rolling in as well. So when you come in, you'd have to see this after the fact to say come in and say hi, but say hi if you're already here. I know we got several people watching already. So go ahead and join the chat. Peter out in Cambodia, just started my 4-day weekend at the beach. Sure.
Hey.
40 degrees this morning in Atlanta. Actually, it's going to hit 70 today, 70 and sunny. It's going to be a perfect day. Perfect day in Atlanta. It's like that tomorrow. I'll have the roof open. It'll be a nice night for some New England Patriots football. And I think, Nick, the Falcons were going to get a response. It was a bad, bad time to play a good team at home after they were just embarrassed by the Broncos. And, my only problem, I don't even say problem, but, watching Arthur Smith and this and that, I'm watching it and saying, Arthur Smith, these guys got to go. I'm like, come on, man. I don't think he should have gone for it. I thought he should in the first quarter. I thought or beginning of second, whenever that happened. I think it was the end of the first. 7-3, make it 7-6. Instead, you saw what happened with the Broncos when they stuffed Dallas on a couple of fourth downs. The game got away from the Cowboys in a hurry. While analytics will tell you that you're better off going for it here, going for it there, analytics don't count for momentum. They don't count for that the it factor that comes along with it. And momentum, it's the strangest thing because you can't see it but you can sure as hell feel it when it's there. And within a game, you can have basically 2 completely different games based on which side the momentum's on. And it's you don't want to give that away on the road that early.
No, you don't. And that was a good Cowboys team. You ran into a buzzsaw, and Dak Prescott maybe played one of the best games of his season. I mean, what was he at? 9.5 yards per attempt. That's crazy. A QBR of 93.4. Big difference than Matt Ryan, who maybe played his worst game of the season on the other side of the ball. So it was a perfect storm. And this Cowboys team, given how open the NFL really is right now this season, they have as good a shot as anybody to be holding up hardware at the end of the season. So I don't think there's any shame in that. Obviously, you would rather have a better showing than you had, but this Falcons team is probably even slightly better than what we expected them to be this season. So I get, being upset game to game, especially after hope. If you have some hope after the Saints, but you take the, 10,000 foot view looking down, they're probably slightly exceeding expectations. The big thing for me is this season was always about, getting your footing, seeing who the guys are, getting young, or the young guys out there, Arthur Smith, etc. But what means do the Falcons have to improve versus, the league average? Right? Because they don't have a lot of cap room. It's not like your quarterback is an ascending talent or anything like that. It's really just, is your coach and general manager better at what they do than the other guys? Because that's probably what it comes down to.
Well, and as compared to last year, the answer to that is yes.
Yeah.
What were my expectations coming into this season based on, and good morning, Dirk. Good morning from a sad fan.
Roll Tide, though.
It was, like I said, it's almost, you dare to hope just a little bit when they played so well against the Saints. You knew better, though, knowing what the Cowboys just got humiliated at home. You knew better that this was going to be a tough game. I mean, I'm in a lot of the Broncos chats also coming on, and a lot of the comments I remember seeing was, I feel sorry for whoever Dallas has to play next. Yeah. Well, it's a not very good Atlanta Falcons team. That's who they had to play next. And ask a question, is your coach and general manager better than the other guys? So I'm not going to compare them to the rest of the league, but I will compare them to what they had. So yes, this coach and general manager is better than what they had last year. So you asked me, what are my expectations coming into this season from a 4-12 team whose only really big key addition in the offseason is a rookie, is Kyle Pitts, because they didn't have the money to go out and do those things. Meanwhile, who do they lose? Lose Julio Jones. They lose Calvin Ridley when they weren't expecting to. Russell Gage had 700 yards, has been MIA this year with injury. So you're losing your top three receivers. You can't replace anybody with any money because you've got no cap space. Thanks, Thomas Dimitroff. My expectations are a 4-12 team to not piss away mathematically impossible wins that they did last year, including the Dallas Cowboys. So as long as you can do that, and there were three of them. There's three of them. They had like a 99.99999% chance of winning and lost last year. Well, you take those three and add them onto the 4 you won last year, and you're looking at a 7-win team.
Yep.
Personnel-wise, this team's actually behind where they were last year.
Yep.
And they're 4-5. So I think on the big picture, they've done a very good job. And if we can get into, where are the holes in this team, it'll take a while.
Oh God. I don't know.
It'll take a while because at best there are 4 players on each side of the ball that are average NFL starters or better. 4 on each side. That's it.
4. So you're saying 4 total or 4?
Can I come up with 4?
I mean, now
side of the ball.
Now it's a challenge. I would say that Jordan Matthews is average given that's me. What was that? Jake, excuse me. Yes, Jake Matthews. Jordan Matthews was wide receiver for the Eagles for a while. I would say that he is league average because that's more of a testament to the state of tackle play in the NFL.
He is average, and he's also paid as a top 5 tackle in the league.
Yep, it's the Kirk Cousins syndrome.
Average, and then he hinders your team because of what you're paying him. So yes, I did count him as one of the 4 on offense.
Then you obviously have Kyle Pitts. As a rookie, I don't even care. Matt Ryan for sure. Chris Lindstrom is the other one. Yep, okay. And then maybe Cordell Patterson.
I may not have counted Pat Matthews then, because I think he's below average. Because I have Cordell Patterson, I throw him in there too. So I'll give him 5.
Yeah, okay, I would say Matthews.
And then you go to the wide receiver core, and you've got a half healthy Russell Gage, who was a number 3 last year. Tajay Sharp, Christian Blake. Guys that were on practice squads or nobodies last year. They're fill-ins. They're 3s at best. Go on the offensive line. I don't think I counted Jake Matthews because I definitely wouldn't have counted Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
Go to left guard, Jaylen Mayfield. Despite his 90 ranking from grading from Pro Football Focus, where he had a 90 run block grade and a 40 pass block grade on even amount of snaps. How does that come up with a 90? I wish I was one of my teachers, whoever's doing
I don't know.
Jesus. But he's a well below average guard. He's a rookie. I'm okay. Yeah. Matt Hennessy, okay. Maybe
D+, C-.
Maybe average at best. Lindstrom, yes, for sure.
McGarry
at right tackle's horrible. He's been horrible this year.
Yeah, he got whipped.
So across the 5 lines of scrimmage, I've got 2 bottom 5 contributors right now.
Yep.
Go over to the defensive side of the ball. Go.
It might get even worse on the defensive side of the ball, which is sad to say. I mean, you have obviously Deion Jones, who from what I could tell, had a very bad game against the Cowboys, but he has enough of a body of work that I'm not super worried about him. So he's one. AJ Terrell has been playing phenomenal football this season. Maybe not the best this week, but he's one that stands out to me as well. After that, I mean, gosh. Grady Jarrett. Grady Jarrett as well.
Grady Jarrett for sure.
That might be it. That's it for me on the defensive side. There's probably somebody I'm forgetting, or some other guys that are standing up. But I'm looking at the depth chart here, and I mean, would you call Dante Fowler an average starter when he's out there?
No, he's the biggest free agent bust in recent history for the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, he is.
But Foye Oluokun is a serviceable player.
Serviceable.
Him and Deion are playing very similar. They're racking up numbers without necessarily making plays.
Impact.
That makes sense. They're both linebackers with 10 to 12 tackles. They're going to knock on the door of the record for tackles in a season for the Atlanta Falcons. Both of them could push 200. And they're not necessarily making a lot of plays. Some of that's scheme, but some of it's the fact that they're 215 pounds, undersized guys. You can get away with one of those guys as long as you've got the other guys filling in. But you got Steven Means, who's hurt on one side. So you're starting a rookie. Ade is starting on his side, Ogundeji. And then Dante Fowler has been in and out of the lineup and has been bad. Luckily, General Manager Terry Fontenot got out of his contract, said, we're either going to cut you or you can accept a 1-year deal and try and earn your money. So he is definitely, that was a good move, move from them. On the backside, CeeDee Lamb had a big game. Who's covering CeeDee Lamb in that game?
I do not off the top of my head. I don't think it was Terrell.
Avery Williams. Avery Williams was a 5th or 6th round draft pick out of Boise State to be a punt returner who wasn't even thought of to be playing. Maybe we can get him some action playing defensive back this year if he grows into that role. Yeah. Well, he's been forced into that role. So because of injuries and lack of depth, Isaiah Oliver was playing really, really well to start the season.
Yeah,
he was as a nickel. And then Avery Williamson, who is a punt returner, for the Broncos fans that are watching in here with us, let's go put Deontay Spencer on CeeDee Lamb in coverage. How's that going to work out? You wonder why Dak had a good day? Good Lord.
Yeah, I loved Avery Williamson coming out as a special teams ace, not just a returner, but he was also very good in the gunner game. And from following the Broncos, they could use all the special teams help they could get. But when you're taking a guy in the 5th round and he's playing meaningful snaps against CeeDee Lamb, who has been amazing this season. I mean, he is the best receiver on that team. Sorry, Amari Cooper, I love you too. But CeeDee Lamb is the dude. It's a recipe for disaster. And we talk about Dak having a great game in this one, but sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's simple and it's like, okay, my guy is better than your guy. I'm going to go back to that. Well, again and again and again. And he did that. I mean, what did CD have?
The left tackle, Steele. What's his first name?
Terrence
Steele. How many pressures did he give up against the Broncos?
12.
Yeah. I'm not sure he gave up any against the Falcons. Russian 4. I'm not sure he gave up any.
Yeah, he's still graded
that much better week to week.
No, he did not. Yeah, no, Terrence Steele. I mean, the benefit of the doubt there is I do follow some people in Dallas fans, and Terrence Steele didn't know he was going to play left tackle until Thursday. So he had like one practice for going from right tackle to left tackle. So at least now he's had some games and some reps under his belt to help a little bit, but not go from 12 pressures to, really solid option. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an indictment of the Falcons' complete lack of pass rush. And as Peter comes in and asks, are your rookies playing so badly, the expectations to be high considering your last draft position? No, they're not playing badly, but they're rookies. Kyle Pitts is phenomenal. Yeah. There's your number 1 pick. Your number 2 pick, Richie Grant, has not really forced the action against 2 journeyman safeties, and Eric Harris and Daron Harmon, going back to that defensive backfield. You got 2 journeyman safeties that are coming in. And then your starter on the other side is Fabian Moreau, who was a reserve with Washington, signed as a low cost free agent coming in. 3rd round, Jaylen Mayfield is playing guard, probably forcing the action a little bit too soon. Ogundeji is having to start. He's right in there. I can't remember which round everybody was in, but he was a middle pick. Is having to start at one outside linebackers because of injury and lack of production, or both. Taquan Graham at nose guard has been okay. He's contributed. Avery Williamson has contributed as well. So the class itself has been really good, but that's it.
Yeah, and you
It's
shouldn't
the rest
have
of
your
the roster. You got a team of rookies that are contributing, and you've got it's an unbelievably bad roster for the fact that they don't have any cap room. It's like it's mind blowing. It's criminal how poor what that Thomas Dimitroff did to this team. It really is.
Yeah, especially the defense. It's tough. It's rough. And Luke MC coming in here saying, "My dad is a Patriots fan. We better win." I would be concerned because the Patriots right now, they started off a little bit slow, but Mac Jones is playing serviceable football, right? The best of the rookies, but he's probably in the Teddy Bridgewater tier of efficiency. But he has a defense that is playing incredible ball right now on the other side, and a running game and an offensive line that is probably top 5 in football. So the biggest thing in this upcoming Patriots game is I think the Patriots are just going to wash out your guys' front 7. I don't think it's going to be it's going to be simple football. Ramondre Stevens.
They can't hold up in the trenches, and that's when you can't hold up in the trenches, you've got a very tough chance. Jay coming in saying Mac is playing like a young Tim Brady. Tim Brady is someone I worked with at Fox Sports a while ago. Good dude too. Hello, Tim, if this finds you someday. Again, and I kind of want to make a joke about this with Tom Brady, because like Tom Brady, the defense is kicking all the ass, and Tom Brady and Mac Jones are getting all of the headlines. Total defense for the New England Patriots, 6. Passing defense, 8. Rushing defense, 14. Scoring defense, 2. So they're giving up the second fewest points in the league. Total offense is 15. Passing offense, 14. I think Mac Jones is somewhere around 18 or 19, about 7 or 8 places behind Teddy Bridgewater for those of you counting at home. And their scoring offense, 6. So they've got three metrics in the teens: total offense, passing offense, rushing offense, 15, 14, 16. And they're 6 in scoring offense. So again, this defense is really getting it done and being efficient. It's the blueprint that we thought the Broncos would be able to try and put in. Good morning, Steve Kennedy, and a picture of his grandson, Sean, there. I'm very familiar with Steve and Sean. That's my dad and son. Thank you for the support, Dad. So one of the questions, Vincent coming in here. Where do we go? Vincent, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you spending some time with us this morning as we talk some Patriots, some Falcons, lick our wounds a little bit over the Dallas Cowboys. And Zach comes in, said Zach comes in and looks great in that system. Yeah, you don't have to be. And Nick and I go back and forth on this with a little bit. Just, I think Nick looks kind of at the in a vacuum. Who would you rather have? I want a more toolsy guy with the athleticism and all this type of stuff. And I just think, there's a place for the pocket passer, the smart, efficient pocket passer, if you can build the system around him. You take a guy like that and plug him in a system that's won 6 Super Bowls with a top 5 defense, he's gonna have a chance.
No, totally. Yeah, I look at it. The reason the quarterbacks are so hard is that when evaluating them, a big portion of what you have to go off of is hearsay, right? Like, what is his character? What is his heart? And that can make all the difference in the world for a quarterback. And you're just going off of what somebody tells you, what you've heard from somebody who knows him or is around the program. So I only like to go off of what I can see and what I know, and that's the film and the traits. So I'm going to miss on a Mac Jones, but that's just where it is, where I sit.
Well, what I see, it's to see it, you have to really, really watch it. And it's hard to come in from, to evaluate after the fact. So I watch Mac Jones a lot, and I loved him. I didn't love him at 3, where, there was talk about him coming, but I mentioned way back in January that this is a trade down possibility for the Falcons to get their quarterback of the future. He's got a chance to sneak into the first round. I wasn't expecting him to go even as high as he did. So I mentioned real quick to Jay at the beginning that I had a kind of a treat. I hope you think it's a treat because I think it's funny. The play that Teddy Bridgewater has been lambasted for, I strung it together, and I title this Denver Broncos film review with Coach Klein and Teddy Bridgewater.
This is where they strip the ball from us. Joe drops the ball. Whoops, he has time to pick it up and dust it off. Then we miss one tackle. There are 2 tackles, right? And running for a touchdown before our guys even know what's going on.
It was out of my reach. What do you want me to do, dive for it?
It hurts.
I couldn't. Whenever I think of a lack of effort play, I always think of Dorn. It's out of my reach.
Oh, sorry.
What do you want me to do? Dive for it? And seeing Slay. So I'm going to post that on social later. Probably get my accounts blocked for copyright infringement and all that kind of stuff. But watching that play, I couldn't help but think of those 2 funny clips from the Water Boy and Major League. So Jay says I'm laughing in pain.
If you flip it 180, you might not get it the copyright. Whatever the bots that pick those up might not.
Well, I also changed it up a little bit. So the Water Boy part of it was they says miss a tackle, miss 2 tackles, then drops the ball. But because it happened in a different order, I actually cut that out, and you couldn't tell. Okay. It fit in very nicely, actually. So
too perfect.
So okay, let's take a look at the Patriots game. I mean, overall, is there a chance in here for the Falcons? You look at it and you say, okay, they're coming off a 45-7 win. The Falcons are coming off a 43-3 loss. 4 in a row for this team. This team might not even have their best player, Cordell Patterson. Mac Jones is playing in Bryant Denny East. Dirk will get that because Alabama plays as many games in Atlanta as the Falcons do because of their proclivity for winning championships.
Yeah.
So he's going to feel right at home. But this is the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time where somebody stubs their toe or overlooks, or you have some pride as a professional and come out swinging. Is there a chance that happens in this game?
There is a chance, but I think if there's one team that I would bet not to have the massive ups and downs and fluctuation that we've seen this season, it's a Bill Belichick coach team. Mm-hmm. And it's a team that has a great offensive line and a great defense. And that's what the Patriots have right now. They're running the ball extremely well with Stevenson, who was a 3rd-round pick. He's like 240 pounds, and he's not explosive, but you have to allocate resources to the box when you go against him, and that makes it very simple for Mac Jones. I mean, he's not reinventing the wheel here. It's open guy, and it's a lot of 12 personnel and getting the ball to Hunter Henry. Once Jonnu Smith comes back and healthy, look out. But really, it's the Patriots defense that is what makes this team go. You mentioned it with Tom Brady. It's the history there. It's the defense plus the offensive line. They've always been great. They weren't great last year, but they're great again. And the defense at DVOA, they are the 5th best defense in football this season. In terms of EPA per play, they are the 6th best defense in football, and they've been actually trending better the last few weeks. I mean, what they did to Baker Mayfield in that Browns defense this last week was, assault. Like it was terrible. So I think that while you do have a chance, this is a tough ask for the Falcons. And I think that the Patriots are not one that you're not going to see high variance week to week. They're going to come in, they're going to know their opponent, they're going to know the assignment, and they're going to take, they'll probably scheme Kyle Pitts away and say, okay, run game plus offensive line has to beat us now. Good luck.
Especially if Patterson's not healthy.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
If Patterson's not playing at a high level, you can scheme Kyle Pitts out of the game.
Yep.
Now what?
Yep.
I keep expecting. You mentioned Hunter Henry. I get all these double H tight ends confused. Hayden Hurst.
Mm-hmm.
I keep expecting Hayden Hurst to have, to break out. That the Falcons didn't pick up his option, so he's a free agent after this season. He needs to be stepping up and playing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Russell Gage is healthier now. That'll help, but it's Russell Gage. We're not talking about getting a 1,400-yard receiver and Calvin Ridley back playing at his highest level. It's Russell Gage.
Yeah.
But you never know. I mean, like I said, that's you call it the puncher's chance, but I don't even know if it's that. But it's just it's a home game. There are an inordinate amount of fans from the Northeast that live in the South. They all leave the Northeast and then come down here and still cheer for their old teams. I'm like, go back to New York, go back to Boston, go back to Chicago, if it was so great. But a very transient city, so there's going to be a ton of Patriots fans there. It's a 6.5 point game right now. That feels like easy money, doesn't it? To say, okay, I'm going to take the Patriots to cover. But I've seen them on a couple of places. I think SI Sportsbook has them at 6.5. I mean, again, we're talking about a team that won by 40 and a team that lost by 40. 6.5? Really? Huh.
Yeah, it's I would take the Patriots on that one. I think that maybe the Patriots play a game that is not really trying to boat race the Falcons, maybe, and that maybe means that you could cover the spread. More like the ball control, can keeping it at the end, and then if you win by 3, that's still a win. Bill Belichick doesn't give a hoot about beating the spread; he cares about winning the football game.
Right.
So that makes sense for me in that sense, but. I think that the Falcons are probably going to get beat pretty good on this one because this Patriots team is talented in areas where the Falcons do not have the horses right now. Like if it comes down to an offensive line game versus the Falcons front 7, you're going to struggle. And that Patriots defensive line is massive too. I mean, they are huge. I think every single guy on that unit is like 320 pounds. You go up against the really light box Falcons and not having the mass up front on the defensive line, you're getting 5 yards a pop, before the running backs even breathed on.
It's not even just the mass on the defensive line; it's the size at the linebacker position too.
Yeah. Yep.
Anthony Rush played really well 2 weeks ago against the Saints, but you saw why he was a practice squad player for 4 weeks before that. He got exposed against the Cowboys in their mobility. So hopefully he can come in and play a little better this week because they're going to need his size in there for sure. Taquan Graham's got to have to step up a little bit. Tyler Davison is going to have to play better. They're all going to have to play better. But again, I for the people that start calling for the coaches' heads, that start saying Arthur Smith, this guy's not good enough. These guys just like, what do you do? I mean, if you've got answers, who comes in here and takes this Falcons team right now and makes them better than they are right now? I'm all ears. I'm serious. Like if you hit me up on Twitter if you've got answers for that, because right now it's just gonna take time. It's gonna take some time to undo the mess that Thomas Dimitroff did to this team. It's gonna take some salary cap room. Grady Jarrett being restructured. Deion Jones, I don't think he's untouchable anymore. Problem with all these guys though is they all have huge dead cap numbers too.
Yeah. So it's not even
you can't even just get rid of them. Again, it's almost criminal how bad that has been. And Klee comes in again. I think Klee might be more sarcastic than I am, and I speak sarcastic fluently. So Vic Fangio coming in. I'd rather have Arthur Smith and Dean Pease. I'm pretty happy with the coaching staff and the general manager, but it's going to take some time. So. Looking at some time, I hate to look forward to the draft already when we're talking about a team sitting at 4 and 5, but let's look at the team that's coming off a 40-point loss and say, how does it get better? Where does it get better? Falcons right now are scheduled to pick 11. They might end up with a top 10 pick.
They probably will.
A couple weeks ago, I said the floor for this team I thought was 7 and 10, the ceiling 10 and 7. They are 1 and 2 after these last 3 games. They just happened to lose to the Panthers and beat the Saints, which I had those flipped. But I think 7 and 10 is now looking more realistic than 10 and 7.
Yeah,
should be a top 10 pick. Where do you go? Where do you go with this team?
Oh man, this seems like a draft that is heavy in areas where the Falcons could be considering to target, which is good news for them. Mm-hmm. It's a very talented cornerback class. It's a very talented offensive tackle class, and it's a very talented edge class, and all positions that this team could use foundational pieces. And I know some people will say, "Oh, we already have AJ Terrell." You need 3 good cornerbacks out there.
You got to have a corner.
Yeah. So I don't. You need more bodies out there. So really, any of those positions would make a lot of sense for the Falcons there at 10. Looking at how they've already laid some foundational pieces here and trying to maximize what you already have on the roster. it's tough because offensive line and all these positions typically are developmental positions. You know, they're not ones like Tristan Wirfs coming in his rookie season to Tampa Bay and being one of the best right tackles in football out of the gate. That's rare. Typically, you see kind of a 1 to 2 year ramp up for an offensive tackle. So I'm leaning for the Falcons. I would lean offensive tackle, upgrade Caleb McGarry, keep improving that unit, play Lindstrom next to a young guy also. That should help, especially with Hennessy entering his 3rd year on the other side. Tackle is one that makes a lot of sense, but you really need to let the board dictate where you go, and the Falcons have enough holes that you don't have to be picky. You know, you're not a right tackle away from contention. You're not an edge rusher away from contention. Just get the best player. So I think that's the way to go. And an edge, cornerback, offensive tackle, those all line up. And there's plenty of names we can talk about that would fit those 3 positions. I know you like Jordan Davis as well. I have a hard time with him given he plays like less than half the snaps for Georgia. Are you using a top 10 pick on a guy who plays less than half the snaps? I personally wouldn't, even though I love what he does in his niche.
Right, for sure. And I get that too. And when I start thinking, and R. Chapman, appreciate you coming in here. I agree with Scott and Nick about Thomas Dimitroff really messing up this team because of bad contracts and poor evaluation of talent. I've said this for years. For the most part, I think that he actually did a decent job of evaluating talent, of getting the guys in, but he didn't know how to value that talent. Meaning, you know, Julio Jones was a great pick, but after you give up 50 points in a playoff game and don't force the Packers to punt, you don't trade 5 high picks to get a wide receiver. The only reason that he wasn't vilified for that much sooner is because Julio Jones can be a Hall of Fame receiver. That's good. But he also gave him a couple extra contracts, and now the Falcons are paying him more to play for the Titans, and he's costing him in dead cap money. Deion Jones, incredibly expensive. Grady Jarrett, incredibly expensive. Jake Matthews, incredibly expensive. And worse than being incredibly expensive, Matt Ryan, obviously, there's the big one. You can't move them either. You can't move them because then you can't replace them because their huge signing bonuses and cap money still counts against your reallocation of resources. Yeah. It's tough. It absolutely really is. And I enjoy, as much as anything, being a Falcons fan growing up, I enjoy the process of building these teams, watching the draft, and going in knowing that you'll have a number 1 draft pick, I think, but no ability to go and address your needs in free agency. It's disheartening.
Yep, it really is disheartening. And just for where this team is, I don't know what you can hang your hat on other than you just need your guys you need luck, and you need your guys at the talent evaluation and coaching to be better than what the league average is. Because like the Broncos right now, you know, they are not a very good team either. I think at some point we'll need to talk, you know, who would win a head-to-head, Broncos versus Falcons, given they're kind of teetering that middle tier right now. But Broncos have 5 top 100 picks. Broncos have, you know, $80 million in cap space this upcoming offseason. The Broncos have one of the younger rosters in football. All those things together, I mean, like the arrow is trending up. You know, they have the ability to make some mistakes while still improving the team. I don't know what this Falcons has in excess that they can do to really create space, get that extra capital, and springboard themselves forward versus the league average to give themselves an upper hand. Because you talked about it.
That's the thing about it is, again, like I said, it's disheartening knowing it's like, oh, we're not very good and we don't have a lot of ways to make ourselves better. The good news is these bad contracts won't last forever. No. You know, in the short term, it's painful. It really is. And, you know, my friend's like, I can't watch this team. And I'm like, I get it. I'm like, well, you're not gonna be able to watch them next year either. Because it's not going to be a lot better. But the good news is you've got an owner that will allocate resources. He'll come up with signing bonuses. He'll spend the money. Obviously, they're over the cap all the time because of huge signing bonuses. Arthur Blank, for anybody that grew up in the 80s, you'll never complain about Arthur Blank as an owner if you had the Smiths. If you had the Smith family, who were one of those collect a check type of families, we don't care about this team, 45 years without back-to-back winning seasons, you won't ever say a bad word about Arthur Blank. So you've got the resources from ownership. Now you just need the time and patience for the rebuild to really get started. And unfortunately, that's probably another year away.
Yeah, No, it is, and I was just looking at the contracts. I mean, even typically the last year of the contract, it's easy to get out of with a low dead cap hit, but that's not even the case for Grady Jarrett or Deion Jones with how those contracts are set up. So I was like, oh, maybe you can trade one of those guys this season. Maybe, it sucks, but are you going to be in your window when Grady Jarrett's still in his prime? Are you going to be?
It's going to be a restructure for Grady Jarrett, and they just
probably has to be.
restructured Deion Jones, so they tied himself to him longer. So it's gonna. There's no two ways about it. If you got to move some money, you got to eat dead cap space. That's basically the way it is. And Clee's doing some homework on the Falcons right now. Mike Smith did a great job with the Falcons. Dan Quinn did a good job with the Falcons. When they fired Mike Smith, I said, how does Thomas Dimitroff get a pass? How does Dimitroff get a pass? If you're going to get rid of Mike Smith, the general manager has to go. I was actually fairly shocked. I was starting to get the feeling that Dimitroff was untouchable in Atlanta until they moved Dan Quinn and Dimitroff. I'm like, thank you. That's what needed to happen. You feel for the human element of guys and stuff. These guys are putting 20 or 30 million in the bank. They'll be okay. I'm not too worried about that. But Mike Smith, again, starting with Arthur Blank, this has been a golden age of Atlanta Falcons football. I'm not joking when I say 40 years. It was the longest professional streak in sports history, pro sports history, of not having back-to-back winning seasons ever. It's like 40 years. Think about that. It's insane.
Yeah. It's that is insane, and it's better there for the Falcons now. Luckily, you guys can rest on your Atlanta Braves there for a little bit, and maybe your
23 don't bother me anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
We're done with 28-3. I'm sure.
And you have
get to play the Patriots, so we'll see it again. I'm sure we'll be reminded of it again tomorrow night. I don't care. I'm just going to replay Jorge Soler's home run.
You can't hurt me anymore. That's a big one, and also the Georgia Bulldogs, right? That's a lot of people in Atlanta.
Atlanta's not Georgia Bulldogs country.
Really?
It's like I said, it's too big of a transient city. Dave, welcome in. Sorry we missed you for the big part of it. Now, once you get outside of Metro Atlanta, which is half the people in the state of Georgia, then it becomes more Georgia Bulldogs.
Bulldogs, okay.
But Atlanta is a transient city. You're going to run into more Chicago Bears fans when you're in downtown Atlanta than you will Georgia Bulldogs. And frankly, I think it was one of the biggest selling points of the SEC championship game when there were 12 teams. They said 10 of the 11 out-of-state teams have their biggest alumni base in Atlanta. So Florida, Tennessee. I think the exception was probably Arkansas. Their biggest one was probably Dallas, or maybe Louisiana to Houston. But 10 of the 11 out-of-state teams, Georgia obviously being the 11th in-state, had their biggest alumni state. So Atlanta's not Georgia Bulldogs country. There's too much diversity of people moving here to say it's really Georgia Bulldogs. But Braves, there's a lot of Braves fans here.
Yeah, and before I get on out of here, I want to get to Dave's last question here about Coach Pease saying, is Coach Pease being given a free pass? I thank you for joining us, Dave. It's okay that you're late. Is Coach Pease being given a free pass? I want to say yes, he is being given a free pass, but for a good reason. The Atlanta Falcons defense is not good on paper. You are lacking talent. I mean, really on this team, you talk about Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett, but those are good players. I wouldn't say they're great players by any means. Those are good players. And AJ Terrell, an up-and-coming good to great player. But defense is about depth and quality across the board. And I look at this right now, and you do not have the horses. So if anything, I think that this Falcons defense is playing above their talent level right now, which is all you can ask for a defensive coordinator, given where they're at with this team schematically and defensively. So a free pass to an extent, because I'm having a hard time getting any sort of reading on him because he just doesn't have the guys out there. I mean, on paper, this Falcons team is as no name as any team out there. I remember coming out here week 1 and I'm looking at the roster. I'm like, who the bleep is this? And I'm a crazy draft person.
That was another major league quote.
There you go. Yep, exactly.
Guys.
Yes, 100%. And that's, I mean, it's not good, especially in the front seven. I mean, a lot of times you can kind of cobble together some guys in the back end, but those trench players, typically you know who those guys are because historically, I mean, I don't think there's a better correlation for early draft pick and being great in the NFL than there is at the edge rushing position, just because those guys are typically the biggest freaks on the team and those guys go early, and the Falcons just don't have those guys in the front. They just don't.
I think, and Dave, I'm glad you saw it. I just put the link in. Nick and I are on the same time, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday on Mile High Huddle, talking different things. And we talk a lot of NFL stuff and we focus on the Broncos channel, obviously, but we also, both of us are big draftniks and general manager types. So we enjoy doing that. And our Chapman coming in here, I want to call you Rex, coming in and saying Dean Pease doesn't have his guys. And for me, you can just cross out Dean Pease and just say, the Falcons don't have their guys. Again, you're looking at the 11 starters and backups on the defense for Atlanta. And what do you expect? Who's going to come in and make hay with Stephen Means, a Dante Fowler who's not playing very well, Tyler Davison, Fabian Moreau, Eric Harris, Deron Harmon? These guys are journeyman backups at best. At best. And the Falcons are starting 8 of those guys.
Yeah. It's not great.
And you want to get on the coaches? Not you. Yeah. I'm just saying people.
In general.
People that are impatient. You want to blame the coaches for this? Are you joking? Come on now.
And there could be something with the coaches as far as behind the scenes, like maybe they're not communicating well with the guys, or there's some discontent and disconnection between the players and the coaches. And at that point, that's fine. But then we can be talking about the coaches having issues. But as far as the product on the field, again, I really think that they are playing well above their talent level. Their collective is better than the individual talents that they have. So getting a clean read on them is tough. And it's the opposite with the Broncos right now. I mean, I know that they lost 4 starting linebackers so far, but you still have your starting defensive backs. You still have your whole interior defensive line, and you have a bottom 10 DVOA defense. And that's supposed to be Vic Fangio's calling card, right? The defensive scheme. And they've not been near that this year. So I don't think Pease is getting a free pass. Of anything, I think he's doing an admirable job, which is not the adjective you want to use.
Guys on defense that start for other teams, without
maybe
a doubt.
3.
AJ Terrell, Grady Jarrett, and then depending on where else, then you can grab one. Then you can grab maybe Deion Jones.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good on the defensive side of the ball. Fontenot has his work cut out for him to get this team on the right track, and he's going to have to really show in the draft because, again, we talked about it, you don't have excess early capital, you don't have a lot of cap room to make moves. He's going to have to hit better than the league average rate, which is tough. Yeah, it's tough.
No, and Dave, I get it. And part of the being out of position is personnel again. We watched CeeDee Lamb torch Avery Williams in that game. Okay, Avery Williams is a backup, corner that's not even – he was drafted as a punt returner. Didn't even think we'd see him in the field as a nickel or as a backup guy, maybe. And then he's starting having to cover, that's not his fault. It's not his fault that he's not good enough to do that. It's on management to upgrade those positions, and you can't do it. They can't do it right now. And there's when you're not getting any pass rush at all, you got all day, you got journeymen at best, guys in coverage, and no pass rush. You're going to get lit up. You can only cover for so long.
Yep.
Especially when you're not very good at it to begin with.
You're damned either way. Yeah, it's not a good situation. I don't know that what he can do to make those guys, right? If you don't have the horses in the back end to load the box.
What they try to do is they try to take the air out of the ball and keep it close till the fourth quarter and hope that they can, a ball bounces their way, give it to Matt Ryan, and maybe he can come back. And it's worked about 3 out of 4 times. That's where most of their wins have been last minute. And a couple of I think all of their wins have been last minute. And then, 1 or 2 of their losses have been last minute as well. So the theory that this coaching staff is having is let's keep it close. Let's see if we can keep it close against a good, hot team that's pissed off like the Cowboys. It wasn't going to happen. They're just not good enough. Can they keep it close against my prediction for this game? Let's get to that, and then I'll let y'all get out of here. Samuel White, appreciate you coming in. Thank you, sir. Come back through, guys, if you're coming in late, and hit the comments. Hit the comment section on Facebook or YouTube, and we'll certainly come back in and answer any questions you might have. My prediction is this game ends up being, it's going to be closer. It's not going to be a 40-point game. It's going to end up looking close, like a 28-17 or a 27-13, where it seems close, but the Patriots are in complete control of the game.
Yep. I think this is a game that and Scott, I hate to be this guy. Both the Falcons are now 4-6 on the season, 4-5.
4-5. Yep, they've had their bye.
Yeah, so they're 4-5. They are the dead last team according to DVOA, which uses strength of schedule and the opponents and a bunch of advanced metrics to rank your team. The 29th offense, the 32nd defense, and the 31st special team. So you're almost going for the trifecta there at the bottom of the league. So I think the Patriots win this one pretty handedly. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball super efficiently and make it simple for Mac Jones. Just play caretaker and let our guys do the rest. And then I think the Patriots, with what they're able to do schematically, with using that 3-man front to create twists and stunts and simulated pressure against this Falcons offensive line that I don't know if they've actually won a matchup heads up all season. I think that the Patriots are going to win this one pretty efficiently. Maybe they're not going to blow them out of the water, but it's going to be one where it's never really that close. So something like a 24-10, 30-13 is kind of the scoreboard.
And I think, looking at the final here, I said I think the floor for this team is 7-10. I still think that's about right. I think the Falcons can go to Jacksonville after Thanksgiving, after 10 days off, and can get a win in Jacksonville. Yeah. I still think they can beat the Lions at home. So they're 6, and then get one of 3 from at a reeling 49ers team, and then a split with the Saints at home and the Panthers on the road. One of those 3, win the 2 that you should be favored in against Jacksonville, and you're looking at 7-10. I put that in writing about 3 weeks ago, and I still feel that that's probably about right.
Yeah, and it seems about right to me. I got to ask you before we get on out of here. I'm never somebody that, totally advocates for losing, but where this Falcons team is it better to be picking in the top 7 of this upcoming draft class versus, winning a few extra games and picking 17?
Without a doubt. I mean, what would be better for this? What would be best for this team long-term is tanking. But I don't want to see that.
Yeah. Easy to say, hard to watch.
You're not even talking about recruiting free agents. If you had a bunch of cap money, you want to show that you're heading in the right direction to teams that you're bringing. They can't even recruit a bunch of free agents in this offseason. Yeah. So you're much better off getting a 6 or 7 pick, trading that away, and getting 4 more, second, third, first round picks in return, and rebuilding, because the only way they're going to be able to rebuild this roster is through the draft over the next 12 months. Trade down and start getting players, unless that guy comes to you in a top spot again, where you've got a franchise player in the top 10 last year. You could get a franchise player. Kyle Pitts is a franchise player. He's a game changer. If you can get a game changer, you take him.
Yep.
If you can't get a game changer, trade down and accumulate picks.
Yep, I agree with you. And Jordan Reed, a friend of mine who's now works for ESPN, pretty cool to watch him climb the ranks here as he's a draft evaluator. He actually just had his first mock draft come out for ESPN, and he has the Falcons picking at 9, taking DeMarvin Leal, inside-outside pass rusher from Texas A&M. And there does seem to be, in my opinion, looking at this board, after the top 10 picks, there's somewhat of a drop-off. So if you can get in the top 10 this class, I think you have a chance to walk away with either a great tackle or a great edge rusher, or one of Derek Stingley or Kyle Hamilton. Any of those guys really you're talking about getting a potential decade-long building block player.
Yeah, I think, Nick, I'll let you go. I'm going to, Dave and Luke, some guys that came in a little late. Samuel, I'll stick around for just a little bit. If you guys keep having questions, I'll talk for another hour. But for me, the biggest needs are pass rush, 1, offensive line, tackle, 2, secondary, 3. We can talk about quarterback, and you're going to need your quarterback of the future. But for this team right now, the problems that you have to fix before Matt Ryan becomes the person that's holding you back, there's a long list. And the offensive tackle, pass rush for me is the biggest one. Protecting the passer, running the ball is the second one. And then a corner opposite or a safety that can help out a below average corner like Kyle Hamilton. Again, a game changer. If you can get a game changer, take him.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here. It's good to see you guys. We'll see you again next Wednesday, and I'll see hopefully a lot of you guys on tomorrow morning for another episode of Broncos.
Yeah, come join us. I know we'll see our Broncos fans, Peter, Clee, Dave, US Dave, and who, if I forgot you, I apologize. We'll see you. Probably see some of y'all tonight, and then tomorrow morning on Broncos for breakfast. Yeah, and then we'll be back again here next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, like we always are. So I'll stick around a little bit because there's a couple comments I want to hit. But Nick, appreciate you being here, and I'll let you get going. All
right, have a good one, guys. Bye.
So, as Sam says, along with the cap shortage, no free agent wants to come here because they see the fan disrespect of a Hall of Famer like MR2. I think that's Matt Ryan. I think that's overblown a little bit. There is a saying, the first time I think I heard it was Tommy Tuberville was coaching at Auburn and had some success. He says you lose 10% of your 10% of your fans, of your following, of your support every season. Matt Ryan has been here long enough that he, as the face of the court, face of the franchise, the quarterback, he's going to get way too much blame for the deficiencies that are around him. Matt Ryan isn't why this team is where it's at. Unless you want to get onto the contract, then I get it. I actually put an article out a couple months ago. I'm like, is this why he's so vilified? Because next year, if you go to Spot Rack and look at who's the highest paid, like total cash, Matt Ryan's number 1 in the NFL. That's a problem. That is a problem. His play isn't what is holding the team back. His contract isn't doing the team any favors. So I get that one, sure. But there is no money to bring in free agents, and you're not getting a discount because you're going to be a Super Bowl contender. You're not getting Odell Beckham Jr. going to the Rams or Von Miller saying, "Yeah, I'll go there," because you don't necessarily have a contending team. Let me go through in here as well. And Dave says, without getting too much into the weeds, how can the Falcons take their medicine now? I'm tired of it, guys. This is not just about Matt. With a new coach and a new general manager and a new culture, you can't just tank. The fact that they came out and said, Terry Fontenot says, and it says, we're here to win. If they wanted to rebuild, they hired the wrong guys. Talk. It's all talk. Watch what they do. Every move they have made has been to build for the future, from not playing any of their veterans in the preseason to all rookies, to trading Julio Jones and getting that cap relief, a little bit of cap relief, so they could even sign their draft class and getting a second-round pick in return, who could be, and that second-round pick could turn into a serviceable lineman, a nice offensive tackle in the second round, or a defensive tackle in the second round. Use your first-round pick on one of those places we talked about, either edge, tackle, or corner, or maybe you get Kyle Hamilton, a game changer at safety. Then I don't worry about position too much. He'd be a best player available type. But it's absolutely a rebuild. And the problem, like we've hit on several times, is there's just not a lot of resources to rebuild yet. But I do believe that the right people are in charge for when the money comes around, and some of these young players. I think Kyle Pitts just turned 21 a couple weeks ago, beginning of October. That's he's going to have a long, productive career with the Atlanta Falcons. So let me go through here. And Peter says Falcons need to pick premium positions, get your money's worth. Yeah. Depending on where you are, again, was tight end a premium position? No, but he's playing a lot of wide receiver. Kyle Pitts. If you can get a game changer, I don't care what position they play. I don't. If you can get Micah Parsons and he's a middle linebacker, he's a game changer. I don't care that he's a middle linebacker. Safety might be one of the least valued positions other than running back in the NFL. If you can get Kyle Hamilton and he's available at your pick, he's a safety and we're picking at 8. I don't care. Take him. He's a game changer. Otherwise, I agree with you. And like I said, I think the needs and the good news, bad news here is the Falcons' needs are at the premium positions. And the premium positions are fairly deep in this draft. Edge rusher, offensive tackle. You got to come out with one on each side of the ball, at least for the Falcons coming up in this draft. Here we see. Dave says, Scott, but don't you think they could have gotten over based on their terrible attendance now? We could do a whole other show on the terrible attendance. Luke, I think someone may have come in and said, they've been a Braves fan since 91. Little history lesson here. In 1997, the Braves moved into Turner Field in 97. At the time, Sports Illustrated did an article on the most expensive outing for a family of 4 to Major League Baseball. And Atlanta, Turner Field was number 1. It was the most expensive place you could go watch a baseball game with a family of 4, based on ticket prices, concessions, parking, etc. The Braves cashed in on that nice 5-year run of going to 3 World Series, winning one of them, and they sold all of those lower bowl tickets to companies and corporations and charged and outpriced the fans. Come 2000, after mediocre seasons, not compared to the 80s, but compared to the previous, and a downturn and a recession in 2000, all of those corporations, nobody was going to the games anymore, and they outpriced their fans. Damned if the Falcons didn't do the exact same thing. $15,000 seat licenses. That lower bowl is all corporate. You know who doesn't go to games? Corporations don't attend games. They price their fans out of the game. One of the first things Arthur Blank did when he bought the Falcons was take the upper deck of the Georgia Dome and made those seats $5. Made them $5. You know what was sold out? Has been sold out since Arthur Blank has been an owner is Atlanta Falcons games. So they made the same mistake that the Braves did, and they're paying for it. It looks like a lockout, a COVID game. It looks like a lockout when you look down there. Here, this is look at my background. That's the lower bowl looks a lot like that during a game. It won't for the Patriots. It'll be full of Patriots fans. They made the same mistake. They outpriced their fans. Atlanta sports fans will not stand for being gouged. I've got another video on this channel talking about Atlanta United and how Arthur Blank did everything right. I said I'm a season tickets holder for Atlanta United. My seats in the exact same seats for 2 seats for 20 games were $1,800. My same tickets for the Falcons would have been $15,000 for 8 games. Guess who I've got season tickets to? So on that note, I am going to let everybody get out of here. We're almost at an hour, and we'll be back on this channel Wednesdays at 10 a.m. We'll probably start doing a little bit more as we start getting into the draft, and if I can rope Nick into doing some more with me, because I really like working with him. For my Broncos fans and for just the converts here, we'll be on Broncos for Breakfast tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific. Got a game tomorrow night. You never know. You never know. You've got the Falcons coming off their worst loss, the Patriots coming off their biggest win. They're primed for a letdown and an answer from the Atlanta Falcons. I think that's what you're hanging your hat on, because schematically, they are very outmanned. They're outmanned on both sides of the ball, on the lines of scrimmage, et cetera, but you never know. This is the NFL. And we saw some strange games last week, including the 43-3. On that note, I appreciate everybody being here, and we will see you next